To be a mother is so difficult, so rewarding, and yet so treacherous. You try your best to teach everyone around you as if they were your child. You try to teach them what you know they need to survive. You try to give them the skills that you had to learn on your own. You try to give them the benefit of your experience. It is your nature to offer them the world and to think the world of them, to think they are the one. But when everything is focused on them, what happens to you? Even though you are creating them, nurturing them, caring for them, teaching them, why are you the one that still gets blamed, that still gets left behind? How can it be your doing and your faults at the same time? How can you be so needed and so hated simultaneously? Sometimes your only crime is that you can feel more. You can read their minds. You can see too far ahead. Sometimes your crime is that you are a natural born witch. Sometimes all we can do is what we're all here to do. All we can do is follow our destiny and help others reach theirs. All we can do is not begrudge our fate. If our fate is one of being the mother, then to be loved and reviled are two sides of the same coin. As a mother, you are not looking for gratitude or acceptance even. You give because you must. You give because you see. You see what is needed. You see the potential in the people around you. So even though they can't teach you, they can't feed you, they may, in fact, blame you, you are still able to bring them back to life, to sustain them, to give them an identity. You are so much stronger than they give you credit for. So much of what happens has you at its back, taking none of the credit, and yet somehow owed all the glory because you planted all the seeds and took all the risk, only for others to enjoy all the power. But you don't do it for power, do you? If you know that you will always be the backbone, if you know that you are the hand that guides the child, the hand of the mother that guides the child within all of us, if you know that the road you walk down is one where you survive when it comes to your own feelings, but you help others flourish. When you realize how powerful of a role that is, you won't begrudge your fate. Does this mean that you always come last? No. It means that within your nature, there is a tremendous power. Your nature creates such growth. It creates heroes. You are the one who plants the seeds and takes the risk, but never for reward, only to nurture the greatness that you pass on. It's a very special fate to be the mother Hi Cancer, welcome to the second part of your reading. Okay, so starting off with that Empress. As of the 30th of October, we have Scorpio housing Mars. The Sun is already there and will be there until the 22nd. And Mercury will also be there between the 6th and the 24th, sorry. So that's a lot in a water sign, which makes you, it boosts you, makes you feel great, gives you this really heavy Empress energy. There's a lot of weight to what you're saying, and when you're walking into a room, for example, you're attracting a lot of attention, not just sexual attention, but just people are very aware of your presence. It affects them. You have this silent power that sort of permeates your surroundings, and it's all this excessive energy in Scorpio that's kind of bleeding out into the other water signs. Aside from this, on the 5th of November, we have Venus moving from Sag into Capricorn. Now, when this happens, you're not content just getting this attention and being able to observe your influence. It's not enough. Now you want to come further out of the shell. Now you want to be out here mixing, mingling, meeting people. Some of you actually have decided that you want to actively start either looking for someone or start to dismantle what you're in so you can find somebody new. There is a sense of finality to a lot of Cancerian emotion right now. Like, I've tried and it's enough, or I've been hiding and healing and it's enough. Okay. Now, it is possible that you have some people around you right now who it feels a little bit competitive. You know, it feels like although you have no interest in being in competition with them, they may feel they have to compete with you because you're putting yourself there. Let me explain what I mean. Someone could not want to compete with you or not be jealous of you or not see you as any sort of a threat, but then something you do, they misread it, it's miscommunicated, and now suddenly they think that you're their enemy or that you want something or covet something of theirs. So you just don't want to give anyone the wrong impression about your intentions. So you want to be really clear in the way that you're speaking. Keep the joking to a minimum, especially if you're dealing with other people's significant others. You just don't want to come across as someone who is traversing boundaries. And because you are very strong right now, very confident, it can be easy to misstep, and it can also be easy to instigate this sort of envy in the people around you, by saying too much, by sharing too much. Okay? Or by making it seem that because you are strong, you can have what is theirs. Maybe that's a better way to put it. Oftentimes, people aren't necessarily put off by our success or by our power. They're put off by the idea that we could use that to take something away from them. So we don't want to feed into that fear at all. Okay. Now, for those of you who are in a long-term situation, the Empress implies that your relationship is looking very, very positive and strong. It seems that both parties are making an effort. Both parties are working on their confidence. Both parties are contributing to the living situation. But, and this is something that we're going to run up against with every sign, between the 9th and the 12th, it's very easy to run into huge conflict when it comes to making plans with a significant other, a best friend, a business partner. They have a much more Saturnian opinion, because what's happening between the 9th and the 12th is that Mars and Saturn are going to square. Okay, so you may find between those days that your loved ones, your friends, whomever it is, they have a much more logical way of looking at whatever you're trying to tackle. And you don't. You want to go more off of the dream of it, the inspiration of it, the art of it, the heart of it. Okay? And it can be really frustrating because at least during those 3 days, it seems like everywhere you turn, there is an embodiment of Saturn trying to constrict you. So just remember now that, on those days you will be feeling this way and feeling very claustrophobic, and hopefully you can do things and plan things and set things up in a way so that on those days you don't have to do as much, or you can, have some time to yourself, or do something that you really like, that really calms you, So, moving on. Now, it is also a good time if you are a creative and you want to take some big risks when it comes to your art, when it comes to doing something or turning something that up until now has been a bit of a hobby into something more official, taking that walk off the cliff there that the Fool is doing. This is something that, you've been inspired to do for a while, and you do have a network to do it. You do know enough people that you could do it, but it's not going to matter. This Fool energy and putting yourself out there and, making these connections and even making the money isn't going to matter if you can't hold on to it. Okay, because the flip side of Cancerians doing very well is that they become very self-destructive and they spend quite a lot. So you've got to, especially around the 19th when there is that lunar eclipse, you've got to really you've got to make some mature, hard decisions, okay? Very mother archetype decisions about what's more important to you. Is it the short term, the fun, the spending money, the mitigating the stress with spending money? Or is it holding on to money long term and having long term goals and having long term fruition be your fun? Okay, this is something that around the 19th starts to become very clear to you. Now, as you go through this, as you have these lunar eclipse revelations, one of the things that you may also, be thinking about quite a lot now is how your work and health are related, and if you need to change something about your work. Is it taking a toll on your health? No need to judge yourself for it, but think about it for a second. If you know your work is taking a toll on your health and you continue to do so, what kind of a message are you sending yourself? Now, of course, I can hear already many people saying, well, I don't have a choice. Okay, I understand. Let's start working towards having a choice then. Okay, now around the lunar eclipse, you really want to be careful with your health. You may feel paranoid, tired, suspicious, lethargic, crabby, afraid. So you just want to hide. Those are good days to hide. Now, this is also a good time for you to take a look health-wise at your different habits and what you've been, where you've been spending your time. What is this rebirth about for you? What do you become after this rebirth, death, Scorpio moment? What do you invest? What does the new you invest in? You and what else? Because your priorities change. You go through this rebirth. You're going to have to figure out, what do you want to grow? But it's a very powerful, time because you are willing to take more risks than you have in a while. And every time you take one of these risks, you create a lot of success for yourself. So you're also creating a lot of positive feedback. When you take on that role, going back to the first part of the video, when you take on what seems to be an unimaginably large responsibility, but you're able to do it and you embrace it, and you know that there's no going back from this sort of click over into maturity. And if you think about it, this is a switch that we have been trying to flip for quite some time. But in the first part of the video, what you see is someone who is already there, an actualized mother, someone who has come to terms with the fact that the mother is really everything. And whatever the child is what the mother is. Okay. Now, after this rebirth, when you want to start putting down all this money and investing in new stuff, and it's the new you, and you want to invest in the new you, just remember that the most satisfying thing that you'll be able to do for yourself right now is save your money. It'll be the hardest thing to do because you will want to cope and you will have days when you struggle to cope, but still, save your money. Okay? Good. All right, Cancer. The extended will be on Vimeo. It's also on Patreon, and it's also available through a PayPal link. On Patreon, you will find the early part 1 video, this part 2, the extended, and there is an option to join the Cancer plus the Za tier. The Za are the morning walk meditations. A little bit of motivation, a little bit of workout, a little bit of talking. It's basically a live podcast. All right, Cancer. I love you, and I will see you in your extended right now.